The banana plants weren't part of the forest. They belonged to people, rows of broad leaves and heavy green bunches grown on the boundary where the protected reserve ended and small farms began. The soil was richer here, damp from hillside runoff, and the plants grew fast. For families living along the edge, bananas weren't luxury. They were breakfast, trade, school fees, survival. For a gorilla, bananas were something else. Easy calories. Gorillas didn't need bananas to live. In the deep forest they ate leaves, shoots, fruit when it was available, bark when it wasn't. But when a gorilla discovered the boundary farms, it discovered a truth humans also knew. Edges had more food, and food at an edge came with risk. On a grey morning after overnight rain, a silverback appeared at the banana edge. He emerged from the forest with calm confidence, not sneaking like a thief, not rushing like an animal panicked by humans. His back was broad, the silver saddle across his shoulders catching light even under clouds. His face was heavy-boned and scarred around the nose, old fights, old dominance, old survival. He wasn't starving. That made him more dangerous, not less. A starving animal might flee at pressure, a strong animal might choose to hold. Behind him, two females moved cautiously, and a juvenile clung near them, watching. The silverback stepped into the first row of bananas and snapped a stalk with a single strong pull. He tore at the plant with efficiency, not rage, just focus. Leaves fell. The smell of crushed sap rose sharp and green. On the farm side, a man named Emmanuel Ntaganda stood behind a fence of thin poles and watched with his mouth half open. Those were his bananas. He'd planted them with his sons. He'd weeded around them. He'd chased monkeys away for months. He'd waited for the bunches to fatten. Now a gorilla was breaking them like they were weeds. Emmanuel's first instinct was anger. His second instinct was fear, because a silverback was not a monkey you chased with stones. Emmanuel's wife, Chantal, pulled at his sleeve. "Don't," she whispered. "Please." Emmanuel didn't move forward. He stepped backward, toward his house, and grabbed his phone with shaking hands. The ranger hotline number was written on a paper above the cooking area because everyone on the forest edge knew eventually you would call. When the ranger answered, Emmanuel's voice cracked. "Gorilla at my bananas," he said. "Big male, he's still here." The ranger's response was calm and tired. "Stay inside," the voice said. "Do not shout, do not throw stones. We are coming." Emmanuel looked again at the silverback. The gorilla wasn't just feeding, it had positioned itself at the boundary line so it could watch both sides, forest behind, farms in front. It turned its head slowly, scanning, listening, as if measuring human reaction. It wasn't trapped, it was holding the edge like a strong man holds a doorway. By the time the ranger patrol arrived, 2 men and 1 woman, the gorilla had already taken a full bunch and torn apart 2 plants for pith. The patrol leader, Ranger Asha Mumbabazi, stopped at a distance and raised her hand to her team. Hold. Her team carried no rifles. In this reserve, gorillas were strictly protected and firearms were used only for extreme emergencies. They carried sticks, radios, and training, the kind of tools meant for de-escalation, not victory. Asha lifted binoculars and watched the silverback's posture. It wasn't charging, it wasn't screaming, but it was squared, head high, shoulders wide, occasionally giving a low grunt that vibrated through the leaves. A warning sound. Asha spoke quietly to her colleague, Jacob. "He's not leaving quickly," she said. Jacob frowned. "We push him," he said. Asha didn't move. "We don't push a confident silverback," she replied. "We persuade, slowly." The third ranger, Mugenzi, looked toward Emmanuel's house where people were gathering behind walls and doorways, watching. "They're afraid," Mugenzi said. Asha nodded. "So are we," she replied, honest. She took 1 slow step forward, then stopped. The silverback turned his head and stared directly at her. Asha held the stare only briefly, then looked away slightly, neutral, not challenging. Guerrilla communication was simple and dangerous. Too much direct challenge could trigger aggression. The silverback grunted again, deeper. He moved one step toward the rangers. Not fast, deliberate. Jacob's hand tightened on his stick. Asha raised her hand again, stopping him. "Back," she whispered. They took 2 steps backward, not running, just creating space. Because Asha understood the core truth of these situations. If you made a gorilla feel cornered, you lost control. And right now, the silverback wasn't cornered. It was in control. It held the banana edge, and the rangers stayed back. The silverback returned the next day, then the next. Each time, it came at almost the same hour. Late morning, when farm workers were busy elsewhere and the forest was quiet. Each time, it snapped plants cleanly, took what it wanted, and retreated into the trees without panic. It wasn't random feeding, it was a pattern. Patterns were what turned wildlife encounter into conflict. Emmanuel's farm wasn't the only one affected. 2 neighbors reported similar damage. Word spread fast. People stopped letting children walk alone near the banana edge. Women carried sticks when they went to gardens, not because sticks could stop a gorilla, but because holding something made fear feel smaller. At the ranger post, the situation became an emergency meeting. Asha stood over a map and marked the affected farms. "This is a dominant male," she said. "He's not just passing through. He's learned an edge route." Jacob leaned in. "We should drive him deeper," he said. "We make noise. We chase." Asha shook her head. "Chasing creates adrenaline," she replied. "Adrenaline creates fights. We don't want a fight." Mugenzi said, "We can use firecrackers." Asha's eyes narrowed. "Firecrackers near gorillas can cause panic," she said. "Panic can separate juveniles. Panic can lead to injuries." Jacob's frustration rose. "So we do nothing?" Asha's voice stayed calm. "We do something smarter," she said. She called a wildlife conflict specialist named Dr. Lila Kato, who worked with local communities and had helped reduce crop raiding by elephants, baboons, and sometimes gorillas. Layla arrived that afternoon and went straight to the banana edge with Asha. She crouched, touched broken stems, and studied tracks. "This silverback is comfortable," Layla said. "He's not being punished by the edge." Asha frowned. "We can't punish him," she replied. "He's protected." Layla nodded. "You don't punish," she said. "You remove reward." They walked the boundary. Layla pointed at what humans rarely noticed. The farms had planted bananas right up to the forest line. No buffer, no unattractive crop zone. The first thing a gorilla touched when it stepped out of trees was banana. Sweet, soft, easy. "It's like putting bread on your doorstep and being shocked the dog comes," Layla said. Asha sighed. "People plant here because soil is good," she said. "I know," Layla replied. "So we changed the first meter." The plan was simple in concept and hard in life. Create a buffer strip of crops gorillas didn't want. Chili plants, tea, lemongrass, between forest and bananas. Use community guards at peak raid hours. Install simple noise deterrents that didn't explode, metal clappers on lines, motion-triggered rattles. And most importantly, stop chasing the gorilla directly. Instead, make the edge uncomfortable and unrewarding. Emmanuel was called to the meeting with other farmers. When Layla explained, one man laughed bitterly. "You want us to plant chili instead of bananas?" he asked. "We eat bananas." Layla didn't argue with his hunger. "You eat bananas when you have bananas," she said. "Right now the gorilla is eating them." Another farmer asked, "Who pays for the buffer strip?" Silence, because every solution required money, and money was always thin. Asha spoke. "We will provide seedlings," she said. "The reserve has a small fund for conflict mitigation." It wasn't enough, but it was something. Emmanuel's face was tight. "And until the strip grows?" he asked. Asha didn't lie. "Until then, we guard," she said. So they did. For a week, community members took turns standing at a distance near the edge at the time the gorilla usually appeared. They didn't approach. They didn't throw, they simply became present. They banged metal clappers gently when the gorilla stepped out. Not a scream, not a chase, an annoyance. The gorilla responded the first days by holding ground. It would stand, chest forward, grunting, testing whether humans would retreat. Usher taught the guards one rule: don't run, don't close distance, hold your line, and let the gorilla decide. On the 5th day, the gorilla came out, saw the line of humans spaced out with clappers, heard the rattling, and hesitated. It stepped forward anyway, but slower. It took one banana plant, just one, and then backed into the trees. It still got food, but the experience had become harder. Layla watched and nodded. "That's the beginning," she said, not stopping. Beginning. But then, on the 8th day, something changed. A tourist guide drove a group to the edge to see gorillas near farms, because rumours had spread. The guide stopped too close. Cameras flashed. People laughed. Voices rose. The gorilla emerged, saw a crowd instead of a controlled guard line, and its posture changed instantly. It charged, not a full attack, just a fast, terrifying rush toward the noisy cluster. People screamed and scattered, and the worst thing happened. They scattered toward the farms, away from forest. The gorilla stopped short, chest heaving, eyes wide, confused by sudden movement. Its adrenaline spiked. Asha ran in, not toward the gorilla, but between the crowd and the forest, raising her arms and shouting at people to move away. For a second, the situation balanced on a knife edge. Panic humans, a charged silverback, children crying. Then Layla did the smartest thing. She shouted one word in the local language, a command people listened to. Down! People dropped low, stopped moving. The gorilla, seeing movement cease, hesitated. It grunted, slapped the ground once, and backed toward the trees, still angry, but no longer overwhelmed. Asha's knees trembled with relief. Later, she confronted the tourist guide and banned him from the area. "This isn't a show," she said. "It's a conflict." The gorilla hadn't become more aggressive because it was evil. It became aggressive because humans had broken the calm pattern. And every broken calm moment made future encounters riskier. The banana edge was not just a food source, it was now a pressure point where people and a powerful animal negotiated space. The buffer strip began to grow. Chili plants and lemongrass took root in the first meters near forest. The smell changed. The edge looked different, less like a buffet. The community guard schedule stabilized. Asha trained people to use consistent sound, metal clappers, rattles, and human presence without pursuit. Children were kept away during peak hours. Dogs were kept leashed. No shouting crowds. Small discipline created safer outcomes. The silverback still came, but its confidence began to erode, not because it feared death, because the edge stopped being easy. One morning, it emerged and sniffed the new plants. It touched a chili leaf, then pulled back quickly, making a short annoyed sound. It moved along the edge searching for a gap where bananas were still close. But humans were there, spaced, calm, clapping steadily. The silverback stood and stared. Asha stood with them, body relaxed but ready, watching posture. The silverback did a short bluff. 2 steps forward, shoulders wide, a low growl. No one ran, no one advanced. The clapping continued, steady like rain. The silverback hesitated again. Then it turned slightly, walked along the edge, and retreated into the trees without taking a plant. That moment was small, but it was the first time it had left empty-handed. Emmanuel watched from his doorway and felt something he hadn't felt in weeks. Hope, not victory. Hope, because the gorilla hadn't been defeated. It had been convinced that this place was no longer worth the cost. Over the next month, raids became less frequent. Damage decreased. The gorilla shifted its foraging deeper into forest where wild fruiting trees were beginning to produce again. Layla explained it in simple terms to the farmers. When the forest offers more and the edge offers less, the gorilla chooses forest. She didn't pretend the problem was gone forever. A bad season could bring the gorilla back. Another strong male could learn the edge later. Conflict was never permanently solved in landscapes like this. It was managed. One afternoon, Asher walked the banana edge with Emmanuel. The bananas were still there, some damaged plants, but many intact. The buffer strip was green and messy and smelled sharp. Emmanuel looked at the forest line and said quietly, "You stayed back from him like he was king." Asher smiled slightly. "He is king in his way," she replied, "and we survive by not challenging kings in their throne room." Emmanuel frowned. "But he came to our food." Asher nodded. "And we taught him that our food comes with rules," she said. "Not fear, rules." Emmanuel was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something honest. "I wanted you to chase him. I wanted you to make him run." Asher looked at him. "If I make him run today, he comes back tomorrow stronger," she said. "If I make the edge worthless, he leaves because it's his decision. That lasts longer." Emmanuel breathed out slowly. That evening, the silverback appeared one more time at the edge. It stepped out, paused, sniffed, looked toward the bananas, then looked at the humans standing spaced with clappers. It grunted once, low, almost like frustration, and turned back into the forest. No charge, no broken stalks, just a retreat. Asher watched it disappear and felt the quiet relief of a conflict de-escalated without violence. The gorilla had held the banana edge for weeks because it could. The rangers had stayed back because they had to. And in the end, staying back wasn't weakness. It was the strategy that kept people alive, kept gorillas alive, and kept the boundary from turning into a battlefield.